What is crony capitalism? Crony capitalism is essentially defined. It's basically an economy where the success in business depends on the close relationship between those in power and the interest groups that are affected. And I particularly selected this image of President López Obrador and Morena Senator Guadiana from Coahuila, because Morena Senator Guadiana has been gaining a couple of contracts through CFE, the electricity state-owned enterprise, because he owns coal mines in Coahuila. And now that he's in power, now that he's a senator, and that he has the connections with Manuel Bartlett, the head of CFE, well, CFE has been buying recently a lot of coal, turning on their old coal plants with all the pollution that generates. But probably if we had a government that was much more inclined in furthering renewable energies, Mr. Guadiana would not be selling and earning some profit and some money from selling to the government. And he can do that because he's an important businessman regarding the coal mines, but because he's also part of the governing party. And that is what crony capitalism is. It's a place in which you have favoritism in the distribution of legal permits. You have specific and particular government grants that favor your friends. They have special tax breaks. They have certain policies that affect their specific markets. And in general, as Leonardo was saying, well, these type of practices degenerate the free market system. You don't have a competitive system this way. What you have is something else, which is much more of what the type of capitalism we have seen throughout history. The capitalism we have seen in many places throughout history is not necessarily very competitive. It tends to be much more concentrated and much more focused into the powerful elites. And that is very important. The idea that Leonardo was saying is essentially this. When you have a capitalism full of cronies, their power and money is capable of buying all this media influence. They buy ads. They favor themselves in elections with their money, or they favor their favorite candidate with that money. They buy votes. They buy influence in the particular congressmen and congresswomen that are part of the government or that have some aspect of power. And with all those resources and all that power, they influence elections. And once they have candidates and ultimately government officials that are in the same side of their viewpoint, well, they owe them favors. And as they owe them favors, that normally tends to increase their wealth and increase the power they have. That is what basically crony capitalism is. And why is this important? Well, because most of the world's most enraging problems can be explained by things that are associated with crony capitalism. And in general, this idea that certain people get away with the things they want to do because they are able to affect the laws that govern a state, the laws that regulate specific markets. Our country is a great example of this because we have low economic growth, unemployment, inequality, and even pollution. And not only in this government, this is something that has been happening for decades with government officials from different parties and different ideological viewpoints and ways of understanding the world. So when you have all of these things combined, you normally also have all of these other things combined, in which you have rent-seeking interest groups that are looking for ways to cut the line and basically favor themselves in negotiations or have certain privileges that in general hamper competition, that concentrate power, concentrate resources, concentrate the markets, and they thrive in corruption-ridden places like this one. And they normally have policies that are pro-business, as if the policies that favor economic activity, business activity, are necessarily good. And we need to question this every time we see a policy recommendation from every single person, whether that is a teacher like myself or a professor you have in class, or someone, a political pundit speaking at the TV or at a program or a video on YouTube, or a political candidate speaking about how he or she will have these fantastic policies that will help the people. We need to understand if those policies are actually the most efficient ones. And one thing that a lot of the private sector, specifically in Monterrey, the big business owners in Monterrey have never understood is that pro-business policies are not the same as the pro-market policies. The policies that favor specific businesses and specific sectors are not necessarily good for the entire economy and for the specific market in which they're participating. You want policies that foster competition, not that hinder it. And these two things are very different. And a lot of the rich people in Mexico that live in this idea of the echaleganismo, that poor people are poor because they are not working hard enough, they just don't get it. They just don't get that you need specific policies in specific environments with specific institutions to actually put people in a leveled playing field. And that is really important to understand. That is something we will see in this course. So how can we tackle these problems before we go to break? We need to reinvigorate our communities. We need to understand what has happened to these communities. We need to see what are their problems and try to implement policies that address the specificities of those communities. We just can't implement something that has been done in other countries without thinking that it could be correct or incorrect in our specific community, in our specific country, city, region. So there's a very good book from last year called The Third Pillar from Raghuram Rajan, which was the former central banker of India and chief economist of the IMF, now once again finance professor at the University of Chicago. And he wrote that every society has three pillars. And those three pillars are basically as follows. One is the market. The other one is the state. And the third one is the community. And what has happened over the last decades in many places in the world is that either in some countries, the market has become too powerful, which means that the powerful firms and multinationals and the business owners become really powerful and make a lot of decisions. Or you have other places in which the state is overwhelmingly powerful, like China. And you have the opposite side of the spectrum. And most places have forgotten about their communities and the well-being of those communities. We need to reinvigorate and remember about those communities because we have forgotten about them and left them powerless to face and cope with the technological change and advancement in the last couple of decades that has displaced many people from what they were able to do and has left them powerless to face the idea that they are not useful anymore in economic terms, that the thing they were able to do, now a machine or a robot or an algorithm is better at doing them than what they were. And that is something that has affected a lot of communities. And we need to basically do the opposite. We need to remember about them and empower these communities, channeling resources towards them so that they can benefit from the ICT revolution and, well, help them develop. And I particularly decided to place this picture because this is a lot of the people working at Zoom at Boulder, Colorado, in the United States. But the point is that now a bunch of tech firms are located in Boulder, Colorado. And probably the most prominent one right now is Zoom because how it has grown during this pandemic. But the point is that once you channel resources to these places, you help these communities develop, you give them new skills, you try to change their fate, you can actually do so. And that is something that we will be seeing throughout the entire course, and we will discuss after the break. To finish, we are harvesting the seeds of our own demise. Our recklessness in terms of how we are overexploiting resources in the planet has forced societies to live too close to certain places that were the natural habitats of different animals. And that implies that those wildlife are mixing with our animals that we eat. And that is creating potential pandemics along the future and potential problems. Maybe not as huge as this one, but let's not forget that this is a third coronavirus in the last 20 years. One was SARS, one was MERS, and now this one is the COVID-19. If we don't control our destruction of the environment, we will be probably risking facing more situations like this. And it's up to us to change this because, as some of you were mentioning, we are facing right now COVID, but we will also face a bunch of economic problems, and we will also ultimately face climate change. And that is the ultimate problem that we need to address. And it will not be solved by the people in power right now. No baby boomer will resolve this problem in the world. We need people like you. We need people of more of my age to try to step up to the plate, be responsible, and actually do the things we need to do to solve these problems. What is the goal of this course and what is the goal of the entire semester? To try and convince you that we don't need special, marvelous solutions that come from outside and are implemented in any country without understanding the nuances and the specificities of those people and those countries. But that we also don't need a huge social revolution from a charismatic leader that will change everything. Because most of those revolutions throughout history have been really crappy eventually in a couple of years after the revolution. We don't need that. We need micro solutions for macro problems. We have huge problems in this country. We have huge problems in this planet. And what we need is a bunch of people throughout the world trying to change the world every single day, trying to do the things that they need to do to make everything better, even if it's a infinitesimally small change that we are able to achieve through an NGO, through a firm, through a political party, through a school, through just helping our neighbors. We need to focus on all of these small but continuous and incremental changes such that all of those things add up and eventually become much more important. We need many institutional changes at the margin. That is the goal of this course. Y con eso terminamos el día de hoy y nos vemos el próximo lunes.